So welcome again. So we will jump into a journey of intelligent cross-platform development. So here's a sneak peek of what we will be exploring together, right? So first of all, we will start with a quick overview of Flutter and FlutterFlow. Then we will be jumping into how to prototyping your application using the MakerSuite. And for those of you who like coding, we will see how to transitioning your prototyping and start coding using the PaLM API. And finally, because I built a quick application for you today, so we will see how to put your hands on the code and start developing, okay? Does it sound exciting for you guys, folks? Good. So before I start talking about IT and everything, so allow me a little bit to introduce myself. I'm a lucky one, being part of a GDE program, so the Google Developer Expert program, in the category of Flutter and Dart. The funny thing though, with the DevFest, it's like we're in the AI room, and there's another room about mobile. So don't be confused, you are the right place. But also, I'm leading a software development department at the US and Canadian company named Datavalet. The HQ is in Montreal, and Datavalet is just a managed network services, and we're providing some solution to our customer. And the funny thing though is like we're building on top of Google Cloud, right? And so I'm very lucky to be here, and one thing that Laurent said during the keynote, for me, is the first in-person DevFest since the pandemic. So we're really lucky to be able to do that now. And also, as a side note, I'm a lucky dad of two amazing kids, and I really like the music, especially the beat making. So if some of you like it, we can talk about it after the talk. Okay, so let's set the stage, and we start the journey with Flutter and FlutterFlow. So Flutter is a fantastic framework. Maybe I'm biased saying that because I'm Flutter GDE, right? So, but it's an open source framework built by Google that allows us to build natively compiled application for mobile, web, desktop from a single code base. Usually developers say Flutter is a framework to build mobile application. That's not true. It's a framework to build cross-platform application. And actually, Flutter, the framework, is currently in version 3. And to create your Flutter application, I know it's not a Flutter talk, but to create your Flutter application, developer need to write the code using the language named Dart language. So speaking of Dart is just another object-oriented language with the syntax familiar to Python, Java, JavaScript. So for those of you who got a background using those coding language, will be very easy for you to jump into the world of Flutter and Dart. As January this year, January 2023, there are over 700K apps in the Play Store that are built with a Flutter. So it's a kind of testament of how Flutter being adopted today by the developer. And what's more, because I know we're in Montreal, and Montreal is kind of a city of gaming development, you also have the Flutter causal game toolkit that enable you to build any kind of game application. I'm not in the game development, but it's worth mentioning that for those of you who like that part of the industry. So one thing that Flutter want to give us is the capability to build just top quality apps, okay? And the Flip app, so the app that I just put there in the slide, it's named the Flip app. It's an app built by Google and presented at the last Google I/O in March. And the app is built using Flutter, and behind the scene is using the PaLM API that we will see together later in the talk, okay? So in Flutter, when you start building your application, designing your UI, when you use Dart to build those, you basically building a tree where you add a node. So Flutter interface is kind of assembling a tree of widget, right? So Flutter developer here, to your right, just to show you where the Flutter developer is putting their hands into the code. So they're primarily working at the top layer where you see dot, and they write the code there. And meanwhile, under the hood, here you see the engine. The Flutter engine is something that is written using C and C++ to make everything being smooth for your development. Now let's delve into FlutterFlow. I picked FlutterFlow for that presentation just to show you another side. I know we like coding. We like spending time in front of a computer to develop. But FlutterFlow here is a kind of a game changer in the sense that it allows us to do any kind of rapid development, prototyping. Me too, I like coding. I like spending time coding. But sometimes I just want to start. I don't want to start from scratch. I have an idea. I want to prototype it quickly and move forward. So that's the goal here with FlutterFlow. It's one tool that is part of WYSIWYG. WYSIWYG, for what you see is what you get, right? I'm sure that you're using tools like Figma, Adobe. So in the world of Flutter community, you have FlutterFlow for the same purposes. So you might wonder, as I say, okay, Boris, you like coding, why I'm using FlutterFlow? As I said before, they're going to save you time, going to ease your development process, and even if you're not in the Flutter industry, you're not in the mobile industry, you say, okay, I'm going to FlutterFlow. They have a beautiful marketplace where you can pick an app, and that's what I did for the DevFest. I pick an app and I start building my idea on top of that. So allow me to not start from scratch. And here at another part, as a developer, again, I'm going back to the fact that I know you like spending your time in front of your code. Another funny thing here, basically the game changer of FlutterFlow, is the fact that you were able to design all of these and have a sneak peek of your code directly, what the code will look like. And if, of course, you subscribe to the platform, you can download that app. But for now, when you start your application, just having the code and knowing how the code will look like is already a game changer for us. Okay? So that's for Flutter and FlutterFlow. Since I would say a year now, everything is about AI, generative AI, ChatGPT here, and in the world of Google Bot and PaLM API. So let's continue our journey with a MakerSuite and jump into the world of a generative AI. Since the last Google I/O, MakerSuite that you see here, that's just the dashboard. So the app moved to the public preview state. So we're all able now to jump into that and to try. And MakerSuite is here to simplify the process of prototyping your generative AI application by providing 3 types of prompt. So you have the text prompt. The text prompt here is basically a light way to experience what the generative AI can do. I would say basically when you use ChatGPT or other kind of thing, that's what you're doing, text prompt, right? And you also have another way to structure your prompt and say, for example, for this input, I'm expecting that output. When you start building that, we do what we call a data prompt. And something that we know before the generative AI is just a conventional way of doing things. That's what we call here the chat prompt. So you have your text, the data prompt, and the chat prompt that you can build basically with a MakerSuite. When I say MakerSuite, I say generative AI, you might heard about prompt engineering, prompt design. That's basically where you will master the way of doing your prompt engineering. So with MakerSuite, you take your time to be sure that for one input, you have the expected output that you want, and you can redefine your input to ensure that your output will be as smooth as you want. And doing that exercise, I'm sure that you already heard that in the industry for a couple of months now. That's what we call the prompt engineering, the prompt design, aka the prompting. And I hope that you mastering that exercise on your own too. So here is a quick demo of what you can do with MakerSuite. Just the concept of causal pondering. Here I share with you a simple way to say, okay, I gave you that email and I want you to rewrite it. So in MakerSuite you can do that. I'm sure with other AI tools, if I name ChatGPT, you can do the same thing. I'm sharing here what we call analogy factory. It's basically just giving to the MakerSuite and behind the scene the model. I say for one input, I'm expecting an output. If you see here, for example, the four example that I give, I say busy like a bee, and just to be sure that the model understand what I want him to do, I give him, let me play that again, up. How can I go back there? Up. I gave him 3 examples, like a drop, like a play, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, we generate play like a, I don't know, or drop like a stone, and dance like, let's wait for this one, dance like a butterfly. So that's exactly analogy factory. So I trained the model, and doing that, there is a well-known way, well-known technique in the industry when you do your prompt engineering that we call the few shot prompt technique. So it's basically, I gave him some input, and I train him by giving him the output that I know is kind of correct. So I gave him one input, and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for you to show me this output. By doing that exercise, I do basically what we call the few shot prompt. So we can decide, for example, to just build a grammar corrector, saying, okay, I'm giving you one sentence and with some mistake, and I'm expecting that output with by you correcting the mistake inside. So when you do those kind of input, output, training the model with the few shot prompt, that's exactly what we call in MakerSuite the data prompt. And they basically have an interface for that. Here I'm sharing with you a quick example that we will see in the app that I built for you for the dev first, where I say, okay, give me basically the recipe to how to brew a coffee. And one thing here is like I'm saying to the model, I want the output, I think I say in Markdown. So I gave him one example. Okay, if you give me the recipe, if you give me the tips to brew my coffee, I want the output to be in a specific format. By doing so, when I will ask now, in the green part here, I will give him an input, he will know exactly what I expect as an output. So that's a data prompt. So now let's jump to how we will interact with a Google API to take advantage of the fact that we've done the prompt engineering. We understand a little bit how to play with the UI, but at the end of the day, we are developers and we want to put our hand into the code. So let's jump to PaLM API now. Are you all with me, guys? Good? So first thing foremost, I hope that if I open your computer, I won't see your API key, okay? So always treat your API key like your password, like your bank account, like your money, like your treasure, right? It's the same thing, will be the same thing when you will start building with a PaLM API, and I'm sure any kind of API here. But the good thing is like in MakerSuite is exactly where you will go and define for one application that I want to build, please give me the API key. For those of you who might be familiar with Google Cloud, one thing that you have to notice here is the fact that every time you will go to MakerSuite and create a new API key, basically behind the scene, Google is creating one project for you with all the configuration, so you don't have to go and trip the configuration. And that's in that project they are making the setup in order for you to call the API, okay? So basically here, I'm sharing with you one screenshot of Aroma Journey. Aroma Journey is the app that we will see, where basically I have the generative AI enabled. So I didn't went there to enable that by myself. By creating an API key in MakerSuite, Google done that exercise behind the scene for me, okay? So MakerSuite had a powerful way for you to do the prompt engineering. So before jumping to the code and say, okay, now I'm sure that the model will give me exactly what I want, I'm trained that to MakerSuite. I'm ready to transition into the code. First of all, I need the API key. And now you will tell me that, oh, I don't have the AI background. I don't know about LLM. I don't know basically how to call the PaLM API. That's where MakerSuite will be powerful, because he will give you basically a snippet to start coding. Are you familiar with Bash? Are you a sysadmin guy? You want to just do a call? You have it for you. Are you JavaScript, TypeScript, according to your background, it's giving you exactly what you want. Python, the same thing. And you will see further in the presentation the difficulties that you will have as a developer without having the AI background is how do I'm going to trick the configuration, the setup. I don't want the AI to give me something very sensitive, the violence, the sexuality, all those kind of things. I don't want you to be biased. So I will trust a MakerSuite to give me the right configuration for that in order for me to start building my application. So I share with you here, I hope that you can, the QR code. Feel free, guys, to scan the QR code. By scanning that QR code, you will see a demo on your phone right away. In the MakerSuite, even though Dart is not listed as an example, they cannot list everything. They didn't list Go, they didn't list Java. The thing that you can do with Dart, if you start your journey with Dart, is by using two packages. So one to interact with Google API, and it's another one to basically use the generative AI API. So here I'm sharing in the QR code. So for those of you who are not able to scan the QR code, let's see here together for 20 seconds what I'm doing. So I build a quick PaLM util class. It's basically that class will make the magic for me, the logic to interact with the API. And as I told you, the settings, right? All those settings, there's a lot of settings that I'm not an expert, and I don't aim to be an expert there. I trust other people to ensure that they give me the guardrails in my application to not do anything that the cops will come tomorrow to my home and say, Boris, what are you doing? So no, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I trust other people. So with that, let's say we go back to the example that I shared with you. We build a grammar corrector application. There are so many beautiful places in Canada. I think that sentence is correct. So the AI will give me the same one, no mistake. Another one, I say, okay, McGill is located in the heart of Montreal, offer many academic opportunity for students. So I have a small typo there if I'm not a native English speaker, so it will give me the correct sentence, say, no, Boris, please change to opportunities. So those kind of things, you can build it, and here is a quick, clear application. As soon as you have it, you can move now to any kind of application you want, mobile and whatever you want to do. Okay, so you have that example on your phone. You can look at it after. Now I want to bring you in that journey of building how I build an application that I propose to the dev fest by saying, okay, we have Flutter to build a cross-platform application. We have the knowledge, JavaScript, Python, Java, whatever, or Dart to build a code. Maybe it's a clear application. We have MakerSuite. Now that I say it, I think twice, MakerSuite will help me master my prompt engineering. And the funny thing though, I've already seen a lot of jobs. It's like we're looking for a prompt engineering developer. What does it mean? Okay, so it's basically someone who's able, because it's a challenge to ask the model. I want the model to answer the right question one time. I don't want you to spend time sending message, because that costs a lot of money. Processors, CPU. So you need to be able to say, one shot you have your answer. So that makes sense to take a time to master the prompt engineering. So that will be for MakerSuite. Another challenge now for you to call the API. You need to protect your key. You need to understand that it needs to be a safe environment. You need to be sure that you have the right settings in order to build your application. So if you bring those four things together, let me embark you in the journey of building an application that could be helpful. So I'm bringing you in the journey of building I like drinking coffee, not two coffee, just one coffee in the morning when I start my journey. So I spend the time on MakerSuite to ensure that for any input that I would give him, it would generate the perfect output for my app. Could be perfect for me, not perfect for you. That's where you will master your prompt engineering and say that's exactly what I want, okay? So I call it Aroma Journey, and let's take the time to go there together. Here I'm sharing with you the architecture. It's a classic architecture of building an application, nothing really crazy. But let's take the time a little bit to look at it according to what we've seen together, right? So FlutterFlow, where FlutterFlow is coming. FlutterFlow is coming because Boris, I want to take just the morning to build the application. I don't want to spend the time saying I'm a Flutter expert. No, I want to go there, prototype something, and from the get-go, I can start building my AI, generative AI application. So from FlutterFlow, I have a mobile application there. I need authentication. Okay. We are at Google DevFest conference. We have something in the back end to help us do that, Firebase. I told you that I want to build a coffee application. So all the configuration need to go somewhere. I can store it in the app. I can have it in the state, but here I decided to put it in Firebase. For the application, you will see just take 3 coffee, okay? Now, where do I put the AI? Where do I want to have the powerful generative AI in my application? For every coffee, I need a detail. I want maybe the AI to tell me which kind of coffee I can create according to what I have at home, in my kitchen. So please, you know I like those coffee, create something for me. Tell me where I can spend time. I'm starting my journey in the coffee. I'm a coder. I wake up every morning. I start coding. You tell me that you know the coffee. Oh, please give me a quiz. Test my knowledge. So that are the 3 features that are integrated in the app. So the logic, you will just need one logic according to what we've seen. We have MakerSuite. We master the prompt API. We know how to, we master the model. We know how to call PaLM API. We don't need 2 logic. Just one logic will be enough. But the thing that will be challenging is to give the right input to have the perfect output. Does that make sense for you, this architecture, Force? Good. So I want to repeat myself because I think for me in particular, that's one of the most important things with generative AI. Today, we need to be sure that we are responsible of what we're doing. It's out there. We're talking about responsible AI these days. So I put an emphasis on the safety feature here because I'm sure that we all want to do something, but I want us, as I say to my daughter sometimes when she say, oh, we can do everything with that. I say, yeah, we can do everything, but more power, more problem too, right? So we need to be sure that the way we're going to code our application, we understand exactly the configuration behind the scene, right? So I want to share with you a quick, explain just briefly. I'm not an AI expert. I'm sure that during the day you will have other talk that will go deeper in that subject. You have the temperature. What is the temperature when you start building your application? The temperature is basically that feature that will control the randomness of what the AI will tell you. The more that value is high, the more you will be more creative. If you go kind of less to 0, 1, it will be like a static. Every time you ask question, it's giving you the same thing. So you want to trick with that. But be careful where you're working. If you start being more creative, that means also behind the scene, more CPU, more power, more money to put on the table, okay? So the candidate count in the configuration will help you determine it, okay, for one input that I'm giving you, how many output you're gonna give me, right? Some case you just want 1, you don't want 2. I'm giving you one thing, please give me the answer. Don't give me 3, 4, I just want 1. The max output token, here is very, very, I think it's one feature that I always want to take the time to explain because some people are saying, oh, I'm using, let's say, ChatGPT for free, and when I go to Pro, I have more output. It's basically you have the output is more large, okay? So the max output is the token, is that number, they're playing with that number to allow you to have more thing as output. Okay, it will be the same thing with PaLM API. So I want to share here with you what we call in MakerSuite just the libraries. So when you will start building your application, same thing you're doing as a developer, you need to structure your application. You're not putting everything in one file. So you will have the same workflow when you start building, drafting, doing your prompt engineering, basically. Be sure that for one input, you expect one output, you put that logic in one library. So that's basically what I just want to share here with you. Could you provide step-by-step instructions on how to brew a delicious, whatever, cappuccino, espresso? I'm giving him the output the way I want that. But I take this logic and I say that's one library. Okay, so you define a library there. Another library, Quiz Coffee. So you will go, I'll just show you here. You go there, and every time you create that, it's a text prompt, it's a data prompt, or maybe a chat, be sure that you create a specific library in order to just organize your thought, okay? So here, I just want to give you another QR code because I didn't want to do a live coding. We never know about the setup and the time that could take. You can scan the code, and basically by scanning the code, you will see the same thing here. That's the application that I was sharing with you. What am I doing here? So I have those categories, cappuccino, cold brew, and I think the last one was espresso. Every time you will see generate or buy PaLM API, basically I'm doing nothing. I'm asking something to the generative AI, and I tell him that according to those coffee, please create something for me, or please give me the detail, because I'm not an expert. So that means every time I will open that page, I will have something new. It will give me something new according to my input. Okay? Up. Also want to take a moment here to share with you one of the challenges that we're facing because we're living in Canada. All those things that I share with you, yes, of course, is available, but it's not available in Canada. Otherwise, we need to use a VPN. So it's worth for me to mention in that, just to be transparent. Also, it's one of the challenges that we're facing. It's not on our level, right? So you can use it, you can play with that, but you need one maybe access like I do. I have private access to that, or you will need a VPN. They have, however, they have a page where you can see all the region in the world where they are available. It's kind of shame for us. We're just close to the US. Why don't you give us access to that? It's not on my power, right? The same thing with Bar, the same thing with MakerSuite, the same thing with PaLM API. However, I think if I just go back, here, I think you also have the source code, if I'm not mistaken. That's why I share with you here. So you can look at, it's open source, you can see how to build application and start from there, okay? So as Lawrence said in the morning, connect with me, whatever. I think here I'm sharing everything with me, my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my GitHub, and also as I told you, being a director of software engineering at Datavalet, I hire sometime, and I'm actually looking for talent, and I always want to empower my team with smart people. So feel free to connect with me if you want maybe an internship or just want to join a beautiful team. Okay, so that's it for me, and thank you. I hope that you learned something today.